told Kevin McCarthy in the middle of the insurrection, we would be prepared to proceed by Zoom deposition of an hour or less, just as soon as Congresswoman Herrera Beutler is available, and to then proceed to the next phase of the trial, including the introduction of that testimony shortly thereafter. Congresswoman Beutler further stated that she hopes other witnesses to this part of the story, other patriots, as she put it, would come forward. And if that happens, we would seek the opportunity to take their depositions via Zoom, also for less than an hour, or to subpoena other relevant documents as well.
There you have it. News breaking last night from Congresswoman Jamie Herrera Beutler, Republican of Washington, who voted for impeachment, describing a conversation with Kevin McCarthy, a House Republican leader, on January 6th, where he described how he was trying to get President Trump to call off the protesters, call off the rioters on that day. She also made a call for others who have relevant information to come forward. You heard it there. Congressman Raskin is saying that they do intend to subpoena Congresswoman Herrera Beutler and her notes. Now we're getting a response from the president's attorney, Michael Van Der Veen.
911 style investigation that Nancy Pelosi called for. It should have been done already. It's a dereliction of the House manager's duty that they didn't. And now at the last minute, after a stipulation had apparently been worked out, they want to go back on that. I think that's inappropriate and improper. We should close this case out today. We have each prepared our closing arguments. I had 8 days to get ready for this thing. But we each had those 8 days equally together to prepare ourselves. And the House managers need to live with the case that they brought. But if they don't, please, in all fairness and in all due process, do not limit my ability to discover the truth. That would be another sham. And that's the president's position, my position.
The president's attorney, Michael Van Der Veen, suggesting perhaps that this trial could end up going on for some time. He's saying if the majority votes to add one witness, they should add more. They should give him the ability to discover witnesses as well.
First of all, this is the proper time that we were assigned to talk about witnesses. This is completely within the course of the rules set forth by the Senate. There's nothing remotely unusual about this. I think we've done an exceedingly thorough and comprehensive job with all the evidence that was available last night. This was breaking news, and it responded directly to a question that was being raised by the president's defense counsel, saying that we had not sufficiently proven to their satisfaction, although I think we've proven to the satisfaction of the American people, certainly, that the president, after the breach and the invasion took place, was not working on the side of defending the Capitol, but rather was continuing to pursue his political goals. And the information that came out last night by Congresswoman Beutler, apparently backed up by contemporaneous notes that she had taken, I think will put to rest any lingering doubts raised by the president's counsel, who now says he wants to interview hundreds of people. There's only one person the president's counsel really needs to interview, and that's their own client. And bring him forward, as we suggested last week, because a lot of this is matters that are in his head. Well, why did he not act to defend the country after he learned of the attack? Why was he continuing to press the political case? But this piece of evidence is relevant to that.
If I may.
And finally, I was a little bit mystified by the point about the article of impeachment, which I referred to. The dereliction of duty, the desertion of duty, is built into the incitement charge, obviously. If the President of the United States is out inciting a violent insurrection, he's obviously not doing his job at the same time. Just like if a police officer is mugging you, yeah, he's guilty of theft and armed robbery, whatever it might be, but he's also not doing his job as a police officer. So it's further evidence of his intent and what his conduct is.
Murder is murder, even when it's a police officer. Let's take that one to the bank.
First of all, it's my understanding, it's been reported that Mr. McCarthy disclaims the rumors that have been the basis of this morning's antics, but really the rumors that have been the basis of this entire proceeding. This entire proceeding is based on rumor, report, innuendo. There's nothing to it, and they didn't do their work. Just like what happened with Mr. Lee 2 or 3 nights ago, some supposed conversation had happened, and they had to withdraw that. They had to back off of that because it was false. It was a false narrative. But it is one article of impeachment. Yeah, they threw a lot of stuff in it in violation of Rule 23. Rule 23 says you cannot combine counts. It's a defect in their entire case. It's one of the 4 reasons why you can vote to acquit in this case. Jurisdiction, Rule 23, due process, and the First Amendment. They all apply in this case. Let me take my own advice and cool the temperature in the room a little bit. It's about the incitement. It's not about what happened afterwards. That's actually the irrelevant stuff. That's the irrelevant stuff. It's not the things that were said from the election to January 6th. It's not relevant to the legal analysis of the issues that are before this body. It doesn't matter what happened after the insurgents into the Capitol building, because that doesn't have to do with incitement. Incitement it's a point in time, folks. It's a point in time when the words are spoken and the words say, implicitly say, explicitly say, commit acts of violence or lawlessness. And we don't have that here. So for the House managers to say we need depositions about things that happened after, it's just not true. But if he does, there are a lot of depositions that need to be happening. Nancy Pelosi's deposition needs to be taken. Vice President Harris's deposition absolutely needs to be taken. And not by Zoom. None of these depositions should be done by Zoom. We didn't do this hearing by Zoom. These depositions should be done in person, in my office, in Philadelphia. That's where they should be done. I don't know how many civil lawyers are here, but that's the way it works, folks. When you want somebody's deposition, you send a notice of deposition, and they appear at the place where the notice says. That's civil process. I don't know why you're laughing. It is civil
It's not
process.
a civil proceeding.
That is the way lawyers do it.
It's not
We send notices of
a regular
deposition
trial, bro.
in the notice of-
I would remind everybody that we will have order in
I don't have
the chamber during these proceedings.
I haven't laughed at any of you. And there's nothing laughable here. He mentioned my client coming in to testify. That is not the way it's done. If he wanted to talk to Donald Trump, he should have put a subpoena down. Like, I'm going to slap subpoenas on a good number of people. If witnesses are what is required here for them to try to get their case back in order, which has failed miserably for 4 reasons. There is no jurisdiction here. There has been no due process here. They have completely violated and ignored and stepped on the Constitution of the United States. They have trampled on it like people who have no respect for it. And if this is about nothing else, it has to be about the respect of our country, our Constitution, and all of the people that make it up. And so that I ask, when considering or voting on this witness matter, and to be clear, this may be the time to do it, but again, and everybody needs to know that the backroom politics, I'm not so much into it all, and I'm not too adept at it neither. But there was a stipulation. They felt pretty comfortable after day 2, until their case was tested on day 3. Now is the time to end this. Now is the time to hear the closing arguments. Now is the time to vote your conscience. Thank you.
Mr. Raskin?
We were involved in no discussions about the stipulation, and I have no further comment. Thank you, Mr. President.
So there you have it. This is likely to go to a vote right now.
Position on that.
I would remind everybody, as Chief Justice Roberts noted on January 21st, 2020, citing the trial of Charles Swain, 1905, all parties in this chamber must refrain from using language that is not conducive to civil discourse. I listened to Chief Justice Roberts say that. I agreed with him, and I thought for our colleagues, I would repeat it as I did last night.